On June 1, 1863, Union Colonel James Montgomery led the 2nd South Carolina Colored Infantry Regiment and the 3rd Rhode Island Heavy Artillery from the Sea Islands in South Carolina up the Combahee River with the plan to raid Confederate outposts and rice plantations. Colonel Montgomery, who had conducted several similar raids, garnered a reputation amongst the South Carolina community. On May 29, 1863, James Lowndes, captain and acting assistant adjutant general, issued a circular warning the local community of McPhersonville, South Carolina, of Montgomery's arrival. He wrote, "The New York Tribune says that the Negro troops at Hilton Head, South Carolina, will soon start upon an expedition under the command of Colonel Montgomery, different in many respects from any heretofore projected. The Yankee papers have frequently indicated their movements, and it would be well to be on the lookout and consider your plan of operations on the various routes of approach." Shortly after the Battle of Port Royal in December 1861, Massachusetts Governor John A. Andrews suggested that Harriet Tubman, abolitionist and Underground Railroad activist, travel to South Carolina and assist with the Port Royal experiment. Upon her arrival in May 1862, Tubman, who actively worked as a Union nurse, spy, and scout, reported to Union General David Hunter at the Beaufort contraband camp. For several months, she worked with many other volunteers to provide food, clothes, and education to the newly freed men and women, now contraband of war. In January 1863, General Hunter recruited Tubman to play an important role in what would become the Combahee River Raid. Tubman and 9 additional scouts were assigned to infiltrate Confederate lines and survey the river for Confederate torpedoes or mines in preparation of the raid. She also communicated with many of the enslaved workers in advance to prepare them and promise them freedom in return for their assistance. On the night of June 2, 1863, Colonel James Montgomery led 150 black soldiers on 3 Union steamers, the Harriet A. Weed, the Sentinel, and the John Adams. The steamers traveled 25 miles up the river, conveniently avoiding all torpedoes, and released soldiers at Fields Point and the Nichols Plantation. As they anchored, Confederate sentinels ran inland while Union soldiers burned bridges, destroyed railroads, and raided plantations and storehouses. By the time Confederate Major W.P. Manuel could respond to the raid by sending troops, 9 plantations were destroyed and thousands of dollars worth of property apprehended. As Union forces escaped back down the river, thousands of enslaved men and women ran toward the Union rowboats stationed along the riverbank, and more than 700 enslaved workers escaped with the Union Army. Harriet Tubman later described the raid, stating, "Some had bags on their heads with pigs in them, some had chickens tied by the legs, and so there were children squalling, chickens squawking, and pigs squealing. They all come running to the gunboats to the rice fields. They reminded me of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt." The Combahee River Raid greatly reduced Confederate supplies by destroying large amounts of Confederate property and establishing a Union blockade on the river. In addition, 200 of the freed enslaved men joined Colonel Montgomery's regiment. Due to the success of the raid, many national newspapers hailed Harriet Tubman, but her role as a Union spy and scout was quickly exposed. A Confederate report later blamed Major Manuel for being unprepared and commended the work of Harriet Tubman by stating the following: "The enemy seems to have been well posted as to the character and capacity of our troops, and their small chance of encountering opposition, and to have been well guided by persons thoroughly acquainted with the river and country." As the Civil War continues, the important role of women will be examined further, but Harriet Tubman will always stand alone as the only woman to lead a military raid during the American Civil War.